I guess points have been made. We find that this, this generation we're talking about is definitely looking for more empowerment. And the flexibility goes with empowerment. And the point I'm trying to make is that we've been very traditional in when it came to office timings. If typical FMCG company, 9 to 5:30, everybody should be in the office by 9 o'clock because the CEO arrives and his leadership team arrive, and then you expect everybody to be. Now, I have seen this transition. And in fact, I still remember I was having a chat with one of the youngsters, and she had joined the organization from another company, and 6 months, and I was just having a chat. And one of the points she made was, Arun, I'm quite happy in this organization. It's a great professional organization, et cetera, but why do you insist that everybody should be in the office between 9 and 9:30? Now, and she was very young and probably third or fourth month in the organization. And that actually made me think that our generation has been very traditional, and which includes our CEO also in many ways, because we belong to the same generation. Now, last 3 years, I think we have become far more flexible and very flexible. And I think the need for flexibility is increasing. And the employee is telling us that you empower me, you've given me the assignment, and leave it to me, how I do it. Now, I'll do it at home, or I'll do it in the car, or I'll do it over the weekend. I will be in the office if you need me for a face-to-face meeting, otherwise leave me alone. I think that's a big shift that is taking place. It took us a little time to adjust, but I think that adjustment is happening now. It's happening. And so that's one piece. I think the second one is, I think there are far more choices people have than they ever had in the past. Our generation versus the new generation. We had very few choices. How many MNC organizations did we have when we started our career? Probably 15 good organizations to work for. And today we've got hundreds and hundreds of organizations. So because there are choices, and they're more demanding, and also they're far more competitive. Again, give you one more example. And another young girl who walks in to my office after 1 year, and she's been with us only for a year, and she's a very good girl, and she got very hefty increase, salary increase, and I thought she would be meeting me and saying, thank you very much, Arun, for a hefty increase you've given to me. And she says, yes, thank you, Arun, you've given me, but you haven't promoted me. I said, well, you've done very well, but I don't think that you are there. But I said, why do you say so? So she said, look, three of my batchmates in my previous organization have been promoted. And so I'm feeling very bad about it. And we've always been rated as sort of high performers, 9 box. And so the whole spirit of, so we got to be aware of this now. We can't ignore it. I mean, these are very emotional issues. And so therefore, in HR, we got to, and they're so well networked. There's a point being made here. And they know everything. And if we are not networked, and if we are not recognizing the kind of aspirations they have, I think we're going to have some issues. So there are different aspirations, absolutely, and we got to recognize those aspirations. And therefore, we got to deal with it. I think the last point, one more point. At the same time, I think it is also very critical for us that we should not get carried away by this. I think we also have a role to play in terms of making sure that the correct organizational values are also given to them. And they understand that life is not all about promotions and heavy increases, but I think there's something beyond that. And I'm sure they listen to you.
DP, I'll come to you, but before that, for the rest of the people who haven't spoken yet, just let's focus on the main one and keep it brief, because I want to keep now a bit of time for people to be able to ask us questions. And so.
I'll just give you, again, I'm always giving examples so that, because it makes life, we are on completely live, you can say, on that. A few years ago, we did a survey with what we call as Gen Y. We just met them flat, and we went on a sort of an interview, I wouldn't say casual chats. What do you want? What is it that you want will make you work in a better environment? Or what is it that you desire from the company? They came up with some very big ticket items. I'm not going into micro. They said that we want a great work-life balance. I don't want to work for 14 hours. Hotels make me work for 14 hours. I drain out. I don't want to do that. They said that I want fun at my workplace. I need recognition. Where is my career? And my compensation has to be in line with markets. Okay, I have a life after work. I think most of the points were touched by... we then did our little bit of dipstick and said that how can we address these points, because this is coming out big. And we have a 50% of the workforce which is Gen Y and 50% which is not Gen Y. That has also to be managed. So what we did is that we came up with some career options. That yes, you need to have a career path. How do you grow? Is that we created some platforms. We created platforms for managers. We created platforms for supervisors, for the staff. And these are your platforms for growth. And how do you achieve these platforms? For achieving these platforms, we created a portal called My University, where it has got 300 certifications of various small avenues. So, making the Gen Y feel that yes, you can grow, definitely, but you cross these platforms to grow. So we created these platforms. And then we definitely did a dipstick and did the market survey and corrected salaries wherever it was required. All this together, we packaged into a concept called Year of the Associate. And we came out with some 20-odd programs, which was actually, Gallup told us it's a worldwide benchmark. And for 4 years at the trot, we were just as a great workplace to work by Gallup Consulting Inc. And we didn't know we did a great job, let me tell you, but it happened. And at this moment, all this resulted in Gen Y attrition falling down, which was going at 39 to 40%. Over a score of 4 years, it has gone to nearly about 21% to 23% as of now. Why I said this is that this is a story which I could tell from the organization that I am in, because I am struggling every day with this Gen X, Gen Y, whatever we name it. We made the Gen X not feel neglected. So we made them mentors. So whenever a new guy comes to the hotel to work, he is a buddy. And with him, a Gen X person is a mentor. So there is a healthy buddy-mentor relationship which goes parallel. And you will see in this hotel, there are many youngsters who are working and serving, and there will be some probably in the Gen X also. That's how we are blending. I do not know whether this is the success mantra or not, but it has proved to be successful till date.
Very nice. DP?
Okay, so I think, first of all, I'd like to just share these two things. Arun, you said about we have a role to play who are from a different age group. And, Sandeep, you were saying this. So, yes, we experienced the same thing, and we've set up a Gen Y Council, actually. And this is about reverse mentoring, where, so for example, I mentor someone, and in return, I'm getting mentored on use of social media. So it's a two-way process. It's not a one-way process, right? And I think for us, those who have this interest, and again, like any IT company, you have your communities, you go ahead, you register. This is growing. So this is what we have done. We've noticed three things that we have found. That this generation wants, as you all have said, quick recognition. It's instant, right? Everything has to be instant. So we have actually changed our whole recognition methodology, systems, processes to be able to recognize this. We have our old ones and we've added something more, right? A mere thank you note would not do, but a thank you note with a nice emoticon which can be selected, which is an IBM emoticon or another emoticon, would make a difference, right? So we changed that, so we responded to it. The second thing that we found out was that they want to do more than just their job, as you said. They want to do something different. So we now actually post a lot of projects are put online where people can participate if they have time, during their time, or later, or call it crowdsourcing or whatever. And we have seen that surprisingly, our time for project execution has come down by 30%. Our use of the same assets have gone up in the technology field by 50% with this set of people. And more of them are going on to this. The third piece which we identified is that they want to give back to society. They all come with a certain ideal piece that I want to give back to the society as well, and we found this pretty common across nations. So we, in 2008, established what is called a corporate services course, right? And this is a people who are high talent, high quality talent. We form a team of 10 to 15 people. This is a team which meets from all countries, and they go into a different country, into an alien country where they have not been earlier, where they do projects for the places where we work, in the communities in which we work. And they come back with a very strong sense of it. They develop. It's a leadership development program, actually. And they contribute effectively. And this has really worked. It's a hallmark program. We just celebrated 5 years of this, and we were sharing this with the NASSCOM, how this has worked for us. And it is very exciting. So we did, a couple of things. Having a Gen Y council, we went ahead and established a corporate services course. We have online projects they can go and participate. There are learnings and so on and so forth. And then we change the recognition piece so that there can be an instant recognition which they can experience. So these are some of the few things that we have done, for this talent group within the organization.
Thanks. So Ajay, you have the last word.
Okay, allow me to then be contrarian. And why I'm saying that I would be contrarian is because maybe we are not experiencing the stuff that, say, for example, Prithvi talked about, where the average age is maybe 25 to 28 cohort. When I look at the demographics in our organization, I would dare say at this point in time that our sub-25 age cohort would be roughly about 7%, but our, if I look at 30-year age bracket, and I expand it a little bit, then we go up to about 40% of our workforce in India. But the interesting thing I would say, and that's the reason I said, allow me to be contrarian, is because my own sense of this is that it is a function of the industry that you work in. And as Arun alluded to a little while back, saying that they are in an FMCG sector, very traditional in that sense, 9 to 5:30 kind of office timings, but Gen Y found them, and some youngster kind of walked up and said, why do you want me to be in the office at a particular time? I think Gen Y hasn't in that sense found us. But maybe even if they were to find us, I think what works for us, because we are a technology company in the core industrial areas, is that you have enough and more people in the organization with a 30-year experience, maybe some 70 patents to their name and those kind of things, who end up being role models for a lot of these people. So that's what's driving the culture in the organization, and our average tenure is upwards of 4 years for a certain population and above. So I think the tectonic shifts of this nature, that certain people will come of a certain age bracket and will drive shift in the way organization thinks and works, happen, I think, almost every 10 years. Maybe now the time is shrinking to about 5 years. But these shifts happen with certain periodicity. None of us grew up in the age of flexi time, but I think all of us now embrace flexi time, for an example. So similarly, the whole thing about instant gratification and stuff like that, I think we'll get used to embracing it a little bit over a period of time, but these shifts happen. And as you rightly pointed out at the start of discussion, that sometimes it's difficult to retrain your existing managers. So to that extent, we've had to do some work with some of the older managers in the organization in terms of training, in terms of how you give the feedback. Because as Amit alluded to, this is not the age of probable, but it's more of an age of possible. So everyone wants to know that why can't I be a block 1 performer, and what's in it that I don't get rated as a block 1 performer. So the person doesn't think that if it were to be just told to him that this is what constitutes block 1, it actually becomes block 5, because now that's the new expectation. So that's a shift that this generation will also undergo as they mature in the workforce. So I think those were the few points that I wanted to make.
So what sorry, go ahead.
As I hear the co-panelists speak, I think as I approach it, it's a mindset issue. While we talk about Gen Y, and like Prithvi said, we've beaten the horse, till death, But even a lot of stuff that you would do for Gen Y, keeping Gen Y in mind, is also what the mindset of the Gen X is today. And that's changing, and we have to recognize that, and we cannot alienate them, like Sandeep said or like Arun said.
And so what I really heard from all of you is that, yes, there are differences, but it's not that different, A. And if you, what I heard the two words is, if I listen and I trust, yeah. And for Gen X is to move from saying they need to adapt, is we move to we need to understand and adapt. And that would solve the problem. So great, thanks. And so we'll now open the questions to the house. If we can have some house lights, please. A few sort of guidelines, rules if you want to call them. You put up your hand. There are a lot of people around with mics. They'll come to you. When you are told that you are going to be speaking, please tell us your name, the organization you are from. Who are you specifically asking the question to? Is there a particular panelist who you want to answer that question? And the last two things is keep it to one question, yeah, and not one question with subparts, so that a lot of people get a chance to talk. And finally, questions, please, and not comments. Let's have a discussion based on questions. Thanks. So,
good evening, everyone. My name is Manmeet, and I'm part of Karma. The question that I have is, and it's open to any one of the panelists, is that one of the main reasons that employees leave the organization is because of their boss, immediate supervisor. Now, Q12 has been one of the most famous surveys worldwide, and the main objective of that is to get to the crux of the issue. What are the steps that that we can take to ensure that the organization can focus more on the supervisor in terms of what are the ways that and the tools that they can empower them with to ensure that perhaps they can target or perhaps get to understand their employees much better. So are there any ways? There are various things that the panel has talked about, but any specific things that you can perhaps throw some light on?
anyone? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be a little specific because I'm coming from a services hospitality background. So I'll be a little specific, and others can also definitely share their experiences. What we've tried to do is that, yes, it's a valid point that some people do leave organizations because of supervisors. Not all, some. I agree with that. So the Q12 does throw out certain questionnaires, certain pinpointers as to what is your Q12 engagement score as a leader in terms of where do you stand in that band. What we've done is this, that we've done supervisory orientation programs for supervisor. And that is basically not skill level supervision, that is on behavioral skills. And that is very much, and those supervisors who are going to be future leaders but have a tendency to not being able to handle correctly their workforce. Those are the supervisors. We've made them go through some development assessment centers. And this has been very scientifically done with a thought process that when they come out of those assessment centers, they have taken from those assessment centers the positives, and we watch them for 6 months, and they go back to assessment center after 6 months, and then that overall correction methodology which happens on the behavioral skill, we are trying to do that. I'm sure others are also on that.
Yeah, I think I can just add to this. In GSK, I guess what seems to be working well, and fortunately, I think our attrition rate has dropped from about 11 to 12% to 6 to 7% over the years. There are various reasons why it's dropped, but when we're talking about the leadership, I guess one of the things which seems to have worked is you're making the leader accountable. And there is a very clear and precise accountability that we're giving to the leader, that you're responsible for ensuring that you don't lose good talent. And the leader is questioned. And also, to formalize this, to build this into the structure, the 6 monthly survey, pulse survey or engagement empowerment survey, that's being done is there is a question. And the question is, my manager is an outstanding leader. That's the question. And the team response is very critical for the manager. And the manager is actually assessed on the team response. Now, one can debate whether it's right or wrong, but we found that at least it has helped us in making the manager or the supervisor accountable. Once that happens, I think then it's much more easier.
I wanted to add to that, just to bring a perspective. For us, we not only measure manager on either the leadership index or the engagement index, we also measure the manager on the enablement index. So when we do our, like Arun said, the pulse surveys, we have 3 category scores. So you will, as a manager, get your engagement score, you will surely get your leadership score, you will also get your enablement score, where the focus and the drive is that as manager, how are you enabling your team to perform better every day? So that's how we do it.
Thanks.
Allow me to share a third or fourth perspective, perhaps. The moment you keep these surveys, whether the Pulse surveys or the Q12 surveys, as an HR responsibility and allow HR only to own these pieces, the shift does not happen. For us, we achieved this by simply making the line manager partner in the process. And moving forward from a survey, when we do the focus group discussions to understand the sense behind the feedback, we took the business leaders along and get a flavor of the first-hand feedback. So that's helped in our case for them to get a first-hand feedback in terms of what's going through the minds of the organization. And they've kind of brought about the change in their own leadership style. The other thing that's worked very powerfully for us has been the 360 feedback. So we've encouraged a lot of our leadership teams together to take 360 feedback. One of the other things that we are now working through the organization with is leadership teams en masse taking either a leadership profile assessment or an MBTI assessment for them to be able to assess their own style and then say that, how do I become more inclusive if this is my style and what do I need to do differently? So those are some of the other things that we've worked with and found that they help the organization.
Wonderful discussion. I have a small question to the entire panel. Is HR budget related to the HR operations and development? Is HR responsibility? HR budget related to HR operations and HR development is HR leaders' responsibility?
What I heard is the HR budget the HR leader's responsibility? I think the answer is...
So, I look at budgets in 2 ways. There is a certain amount of budget which you manage for the organization, which is your workforce cost, your cost for hiring, cost per training, which I think you manage on behalf of the business, and it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility as HR leaders to manage it effectively. The cost of managing HR as a service, or you called it HR operations, your HR payroll, the amount of money you're investing in HR, the programs that you wish to run for HR as a team or across, is also clearly your accountability. So some of the budget that you're talking about HR is directly attributable to the function, is what we do. And then there is another set beyond that, which I believe we also have responsibility for, which is actually doing it on behalf of line leaders. So from my perspective, actually our responsibility when it comes to managing budgets is much beyond just our own cost.
I would endorse that and say that we follow a similar principle where I'm accountable for the budget of my function, but I'm responsible for what the line manager spends on the human resource of the organization.
Sure. The gentleman here. Yeah.
Good evening. I am Praveen Sinha. I have worked with companies like SAIL, JSW, Suzlon, and recently with DSCL. I'm on a short sabbatical, and my question is that do we have any roadmap HR roadmap to manage the aspiration of the outsourced employees, because in many of our core business processes and production processes also, we have outsourced. And we are also having the situations where we have, on one particular line, we have outsourced employees working, and the similar line, we have the on-roll employees working. So, I mean, do we have any systemic or any benchmark where the aspirations of contract laborers and outsourced employees are being taken care of, particularly vis-a-vis manufacturing industry? Thank you.
Manufacturing. That I don't know, but I can see a lot of outsourced work happening out of insurance, in the sense, not on payroll, right?
See, we have our agents which are there, but that's not typically outsourcing in the spirit the gentleman asked the question about, right?
Sure,
But,
sure.
So I think I've seen 2 or 3 things work well. I think number one, you will see much more of that population in your current workforce. So people on direct contract with you, freelance agents, free agents, whatever you call them, I believe we will see much more of that increase. And I think we need to recognize that career models for them are not the same as your career models for your permanent staff. I think the second thing I've seen work well is where if you've outsourced, to your point, I can actually have a arm's length relationship or service, you've outsourced a service. Our job really is to work in partnership with that outsourcing company to build the capability of their workforce, which is contracted to us to do the work that we've asked for. So our role is, I see our role in HR actually to help them with their people practices, make sure, that they're doing the right things. And, unfortunately, at this stage of our maturity in India, I think both those areas, managing career paths for free agents or freelancers working directly with us, or working with contracting firms, is sort of still emerging out of the mindset of compliance and regulation. We are still just about handling those 2 issues into the level we need to. I think we need to go much beyond, and I think organizations who have large numbers, you will find more things being tried there in terms of partnering with contracting firms to manage their workforce, or in terms of creating cultures or terms and conditions, incentive programs, training programs for freelancers. So I think it's a bit of a journey in India right now. We are still sort of stuck in this space on those two axes with just navigating through compliance and regulation. But I think if you fast forward this 2 to 3 years, you will see more and more progressive practices, as I just mentioned.
Thanks. Yeah.
Because I think that was a great question. And I guess in the manufacturing sector, as you rightly said, you have contract labor, right? And I fully agree with Prithvi. I think the biggest struggle is to make sure that the contractors are compliant. I think that's where most of the energy goes in. The PF is not being paid, or the ESI is not being paid, or the minimum wages, or the bonus is not being paid. We've got to make sure that this happens. And that's the hygienic factor. I guess the biggest challenge that all of us are going to be facing, and I think we've started facing in some of the industries in North India, is the whole wage differential between the contract workforce and the company workforce. Now, if the jobs are similar, and if the wage differential is 1:3, we're going to have problems. So I think we've got to get that right. And this is going to be, to my mind, this is going to be one of the most critical challenges over the next 3 to 5 years. We've got to get that right. And there are major issues around that.
Initially, he said about how educational institutions are going to help the industry. My experience has been for the last 30 years and the recent 10 years that the students coming out from the MBA courses, they seldom know anything about the compliance related issues. Why not there be some focus on the compliance matters, and particularly the process of compliances? Because the problem is that even if you have done a diploma in labor law, but you don't know the process Like, I will just give you one example.
Point taken. I'm sorry, but we have one last question left. If I let you continue, that one last question will not happen. So we will be around, and Professor Bedi will be around.
Sure,
Perhaps
sure.
you can ask that directly.
Sure, no problem, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my name is Nitin Grover. I'm from Bank of America. I had a very specific question. I have a legal background, so I'm a law graduate as well as a HR professional, and I had a question related to both. One question which covers both. So, we correctly talked about how the Gen Y is making a difference in terms of how companies are operating, how we as companies need to change ourselves, as HR professionals need to adapt. What the fact is that these the changes which are happening are also in a way exposing us to a lot of risks. Because, organizations don't really work in silos. They work in an environment and regulatory environment, or the labor law requirements are a much part of that. And when you talk about flexible working, which is working from home, people working 4 days a week and really not the 3 days off, all of that stuff in a way is exposing us to a lot of legal risks, which a lot of time gets ignored because we don't think from that perspective. It's not really thought through that a lot of companies are going through.
And your
so
question
the
is?
question typically comes is, one, as an industry, what are we doing to push the government to change these laws, to bring them with the current environment, because that's very important. And secondly, while this change will take time, and some organizations have gone really far ahead with making these changes, others are a little more conservative when it comes to being compliant. How do you manage the expectation of the same talent pool that moves from one organization to the other and finds it a huge cultural shock? Thank you.
Let me try to answer this. It's a tough question. But first of all, I think if you're doing anything which is better than the law, you don't have any exposures, right? So if you're asking somebody to work for 4 hours, it's okay, right? Or you're asking somebody to work in flexible way, this is more than what the law requires. So, but there are other pieces to it which you are saying. So the other pieces to that could be relating to information security, for example, the piece that person has to work on, right? So I think this is a very genuine problem, but the IT industry, for example, where this happens far more, has got a lot of tools which are able to control this piece. And I think, so information security is a big piece, but there's a lot of development happening around this. And, and finally, it's about the values. What is zero tolerance? And what are the values that you have that you imbibe in it? People respond to how you treat them, And my view is there is no major legal exposure which is available. But there are places where you contract with your client and you say, no, yes, we agree, this work will happen in my, my office, in my domain. When you have contracted like this, you have to do it like that, right? So I think there are securities which are being put into place, there are values that you need to drive, and then there are contracts that you have to live up to it. So my view, it's not giving flexibility is not very dangerous.
So one thought on your question was you talked about what the professionals are doing in terms of influencing and changing the act, the labor laws. It's very interesting because when I started my career, and I was told that there is a comprehensive industrial relations bill which is being tabled, right? I'm going to end my career very soon, and the comprehensive industrial relations bill is still being tabled. All right, so it's become another Lokpal bill, probably 45 years. I think it'll go through.
So thanks a lot. Thanks a ton, and thanks a ton, audience. It's been lovely spending this time with you. Thank you.
A big thank you to all our speakers. I'd like to invite Colonel V.K. Gore, advisor to Manav Rachna Educational Institutions, to please come up and present small tokens of appreciation to our speakers. To Amit Malik, Ajay Kukreja, Prithvi Shergill, our moderator Indraneel Chakraborty, Arun Sehgal, DP Singh, and to Sandeep Banerjee. Thank you very much, Colonel Gore. Thank you, gentlemen. If I could request you to please step down. We have a few more gifts that we'd like to give away as we move towards the close of the 12th Hindustan Times Shine HR Conclave, the NCR chapter. We'd like to thank our sponsors and present them with a memento. And to do so, I'd like to request Mr. Zairis Mistry, Business Head, Shine.com, to please do us the honor. If I could request the representative from the organization to please step forward and receive this from Zairis. Our presenting sponsor, Manav Rachna International University, Major General A.S. Bakshi, I believe you're here, Director, Corporate Resource Center. Our associate sponsor, Better Option Crop Mart. Better Option Crop Mart. Our hospitality partner, Vivanta by Taj, Gurgaon, NCR. Our knowledge partner, Jodhpur National University. Jodhpur National University. Wellness partner, Thyrocare Technologies Limited. Technology partner, Ramco Systems Limited. Ramco. Our event partners, Ameriprise Financials, Ameriprise, not here, Athena Consultancy Services, there is a team that is coming up. Career Cafe. Career Cafe. KV Developers. Just go into the center a little so that we can get a... Harley Davidson. Dr. Zakir Hussain Institute of Technology and Management. Bansal College of Engineering and Technology. Ameriprise Financials. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for gracing the occasion. Thank you to the speakers and to our moderator. And please join us now for cocktails and dinner outside. Thank you.